We are probably 6 months away from the release of the Switch 2. And with that in mind, I wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking about, the games I want to finish or replay before that launches. Now, the rumor mill is the Nintendo Switch 2 may be backwards compatible, and I sort of think that way. I don't know why they wouldn't go that direction. That would be awesome, but it makes it a little complicated because some of these games would be really nice with improved hardware. Better performance would be a huge plus. So do you replay them now? Do you wait to see if they play on the new system? It's probably worth replaying them now because who knows, we don't have any guarantees, but that is a factor for you to choose. And to be clear, this isn't a list of all the best games on the Switch. It's just a few that I personally really enjoyed and think are worth playing once again before the new console generation for the Switch. First up, Link's Awakening. I'm currently playing Echoes of Wisdom, which just came out, and it's also by Grezzo, the same team that did the Link's Awakening remake on the Switch. Fun fact, the original idea for Echoes came from a pitch for a Dungeon Maker game, which kind of ties into the dungeon building feature they included in Link's Awakening. But what made Link's Awakening so unique? It's really surreal. The story isn't as bittersweet as Majora's Mask, but it's definitely one of the weirder ones in the franchise. You're on this mysterious island, and there's this underlying feeling that things aren't what they seem. The music is super nostalgic. There's something really peaceful as well as haunting about the overworld theme. And fun fact, when the game first launched on the original Game Boy, it was one of the first open world experiences on a handheld console. That was pretty groundbreaking for the time. The Switch remake did an amazing job capturing the classic feel while giving it a modern touch with those beautiful toy-like graphics. It's one of those games I just love replaying, especially in the fall. Can't go wrong with this one. Plus, it doesn't take a ton of time to get through it. Next, we have Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, it's one of the best Mario games ever made. It packs creativity from all the different kingdoms to the sheer amount of things you can do in each world. The Cappy mechanic adds a bunch of fun and depth to the gameplay, letting you take control of enemies and objects in a way it's never really been done before in a Mario game. It's got a lot of replayability. The game doesn't just stop once you beat Bowser. There's hundreds of moons to go out and find, and the post-game content adds a whole new layer of challenge. Plus, if you love speedrunning, Odyssey is a game that's perfect for that because of how tight and responsive the controls are. You can really learn or get into the any percent run fairly easily, or at least some of the beginner routes. Even if we do get a new Mario game on the Switch 2, this one's going to hold up for a long time. Then we have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This game is a straight masterpiece when it comes to platforming. It is tough, but quite rewarding, and the level design is just so good. There's a real sense of flow and rhythm while you're playing this one, especially if you're into high precision platforming. And the soundtrack is straight fire. Composed by David Wise, who worked on the original Donkey Kong Country games, the music is just top tier. Another cool thing is the way the environments come to life. Every level and world has its own personality, and the visuals, especially in the HD remaster, really look quite nice. Alright, here's where things get tricky for me. Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. These are two of the longest and most expansive games on the Switch, and while I really want to dive back into one of them, I'm not really sure if now is the time. If the Switch 2 ends up being backwards compatible, I may hold off and see how they perform on the new hardware. But let's be real, there's something magical about both of these games. Breath of the Wild completely redefined what a Zelda game could be with its open world exploration and sense of freedom. And Tears just took that foundation and added so much more depth with the Sky Islands. I won't spoil it if you've never played it. The other areas, it's going to be hard to top these two, but I doubt we're going to get a new Zelda launch title on the Switch 2 since Tears just came out last year. You can't go wrong with either of these games. I would say play both of them. My personal preference will be Tears, and I am hoping it's backwards compat on Switch 2 because it could use some of that performance boost. Now, Metroid Prime Remastered. I won't go through this one again before we get Metroid Prime 4 probably, or Switch 2 or whatever, but this is one of those games, if you like FPS stuff, you gotta play it, especially before Prime 4 eventually drops. This remaster is fantastic. They updated the visuals to make the game look stunning on modern hardware. They updated the controls with a really nice control scheme. If you've never played it, it's all about the exploration and the atmosphere. The music, the sound design, the environmental storytelling, it is all top-notch And again, if you haven't played it just yet, the remastered version is the definitive way to experience it. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime kind of gaming experiences. Celeste is a game I always recommend. It's one of those games that's both challenging and deeply emotional. The platforming is pixel perfect, especially in the later chapters, and the story of overcoming personal challenges really resonates. As we head into autumn and winter, it's kind of cozy game season for many I know, Celeste is the perfect game to sort of curl up with if you haven't played it just yet. You are in for a treat, and it's not that long to go through the thing. I never finished Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's been on my backlog for a while now. The story is super compelling, at least, the 10 or 15 hours that I played, especially with the different branching paths, depending on which house you choose. Characters seem really well written. The tactical gameplay is as solid as ever. It's one of those games that it just takes a lot of time to get through. So if I can carve out enough to finish it before the Switch 2 drops, I would love to wrap this thing up. Oh, I completely forgot when I was editing this, I wanted to mention Astral Chain, which is hands down one of the most unique and visually striking games on the Switch. It's made by Platinum Games, the same studio behind Bayonetta and Nier Automata. So if you're familiar with those action games, you know the combat is just incredible here. The whole concept of Astral Chain is crazy. You've got a cool mechanic where you control both your character and a creature called Legion at the same time. It sounds complicated, but honestly, they made it pretty simple. And once you get the hang of it, the combat flows really smoothly, it looks amazing, you pull off these cool combos and chain attacks, and it's also this unique kind of cyberpunk futuristic city where humanity is on the brink of extinction due to these interdimensional beings called Chimera, and the visual design has this great cyberpunk vibe with some cel-shaded aspects, these bright neon colors. It's really stylish, and the Switch handles it surprisingly well. Though this is one of those games that could benefit from some better hardware. I mean, I'd love to see how it would run or look on the Switch 2 with maybe smoother frame rates or a higher resolution, something like that. There's sort of mystery puzzle mechanics tossed in. One thing I do love about this game, and going back to it after taking a break for a few years, it is weird, like in terms of the controls and the mechanics. So it's got a great training mode where you can just basically play and relearn all the mechanics. So many games need that. Right? You put a game down, you take a break for a year, you come back. It's nice to be able to get up to speed really quickly without starting a new game. And then last but not least, Luigi's Mansion 3. This game is just fantastic. The visuals are some of the best on the system. It's such a fun, charming experience. You play as Luigi wandering around a haunted hotel, vacuuming up ghosts. It's got that spooky vibe, but without being super scary, so it's kind of perfect for October as we get closer to Halloween. Kind of flew under the radar, I feel like, for a lot of people, like most of this franchise does, but it's definitely one of the best games on Switch. Plus the puzzles and the level design, they're all so clever. It's a blast to play. So that's my list. What about you guys? Are there any Switch games you're planning to revisit before the new system comes out? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please like. I appreciate you, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.